The night Sodom was destroyed, there were no warning sirens, no fire in the sky, no voice shouting, "Run!" Just two strangers walking quietly through the city gates, and no one noticed that judgment had just arrived. An entire city, living, breathing, laughing, completely unaware that they had hours left to exist. Sodom didn't fall because people didn't know right from wrong. It fell because they stopped caring. And when the angels finally revealed why they came, it was already too late. Doors were shut. Time was up. Mercy had reached its limit. But in the middle of all that darkness, one man was pulled out. Not because he was perfect, but because he was willing to leave. So ask yourself right now, if heaven sent messengers into your life tonight, would you recognize them as rescue or ignore them as nothing? Because before the sun rose the next morning, Sodom was gone. Chapter 1. The cry that reached heaven. Long before the fire fell, before the desperate screams echoing through the streets, there was something rising, a cry, not from buildings, not from the ground itself, but from people, from victims, from the broken, from those who had been ignored for far too long. The Bible says, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is very grave. Sit with that for a moment. An outcry doesn't come from nowhere. It means something was happening inside that city over and over again, so consistently that it reached heaven. Now imagine living in a place like that, where wrong isn't hidden anymore. It's normal. Where injustice isn't shocking, it's expected. Where people don't even flinch at evil because they've seen it so many times, it no longer feels like evil at all. That was Sodom. And here's the uncomfortable question. How bad does a place have to become before judgment is justified? Because this wasn't about one mistake. This wasn't about a few bad people. This was an entire system, a culture, a city that had fully embraced corruption. And when that happens, judgment doesn't come suddenly. It comes after patience has already been exhausted. That's the part many people overlook. God didn't react instantly. Time had passed. Warnings may have been ignored. Consciences may have been silenced. Until finally, the weight of it all demanded a response. And that response wasn't random. It was intentional. Genesis reveals something powerful. God says he will go down and see whether the outcry matches the reality. Not because he lacks knowledge, but because what is about to happen must be seen as completely just. And right here, the story shifts. Because before anything is destroyed, before a single flame falls from heaven, someone steps forward. Not an angel, not a warrior, a man, Abraham. And what he does next is unexpected. He asks a question that echoes even today. Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Think about the weight of that. He's not denying the evil. He's not defending Sodom. He's asking about justice, about fairness, about whether mercy can still exist in the middle of judgment. And then he does something even bolder. He starts negotiating. What if there are 50 righteous people? And God responds, if I find 50, I will spare the whole place. But Abraham doesn't stop. 45, 40, 30, 20, each number dropping like a clock ticking down, and with every step lower, the tension rises. Because what Abraham is really asking is this: is there anything left worth saving? And then comes the final number. If just 10 righteous people can be found, the entire city would be spared. 10 out of thousands. Let that sink in. And here's where the silence becomes terrifying. Because the story doesn't say they found 10. It doesn't say there was a hidden group of good people. It just moves on, as if the answer had already been decided. And while Abraham stands there, while that conversation lingers in the air, something else is already in motion. Two figures are drawing closer to Sodom, not with armies, not with fire, but quietly, almost unnoticed. And the moment they arrive, the fate of the city will no longer be a question. It will be a countdown. Chapter 2. The angels enter Sodom. Evening was settling in. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind where shadows stretch longer than they should, and something in the air feels unsettled. The gates of Sodom stood open. This was the heart of the city, a place where decisions were made, where leaders gathered, where strangers were noticed or ignored. And that's when they appeared. Two men, no glow, just travelers. Dust on their feet, silence in their steps. If you walked past them, you wouldn't turn your head. If you saw them enter the city, you wouldn't think twice. And that's what makes this moment so unsettling. Judgment didn't arrive looking like judgment. It looked ordinary. Now picture the people around them, merchants closing their stalls, voices echoing through narrow streets, laughter, movement, life going on as usual. No one stops. No one senses it. No one asks, who are they? Except one man, Lot, sitting at the gate, watching. There's something different about him. Not perfect, not untouched by the city around him, but aware. When he sees them, he doesn't just glance and move on. He rises, and then he does something unexpected. He bows. Why? Did he recognize them? Or did something in his spirit just feel it? Because in a city where strangers could be ignored, or worse, Lot insists, come to my house, not casually, not politely, urgently, almost like he knows, you shouldn't stay out here tonight. But the men respond in a way that feels strange. They say, no, we will spend the night in the square. Think about that. They choose the open street, the most exposed place in the city. Why? Was it a test? Were they waiting to see what Sodom would do without interference? Because Lot doesn't accept it. He presses them, strongly, almost forcefully, until finally they agree, and they go with him. Now pause and think, why was Lot so desperate to get them inside? What did he know about that city that made the open square feel dangerous? Because whatever it was, we're about to see it. Inside his home, everything seems calm at first. A meal is prepared, water is brought, the setting feels almost normal. Like maybe, just maybe, this night will pass quietly. But outside, the city is still awake, watching, moving. And then it begins, not slowly, not subtly, but all at once. The Bible says, the men of the city, both young and old, surrounded the house. Not a few, not a group, all. From every corner of Sodom, young, old, doesn't matter, they come. And suddenly, the house is no longer a place of safety. It's surrounded. Voices rise, feet press closer. The air shifts from uneasy to dangerous. And then the demand comes. Cold, direct, disturbing. Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us? No hesitation, no shame. Just open, collective corruption. Now stop and ask yourself, what kind of city gathers like this? In the middle of the night, with one intent? And in that moment, everything becomes clear. The outcry that reached heaven? This is it. Not exaggerated, not misunderstood. This is who they were, and Lot knows it. He steps outside, closes the door behind him, standing alone, between the mob and the men inside. Think about that image. One man versus an entire city. And what he says next only shows how deep the darkness has gone, because even he has been shaped by this place. But before anything spirals further, before the crowd breaks in, before the night completely loses control, something happens inside that house, something the people outside didn't expect. Because the two men inside, they were never just men. And in the next moment, they stop observing. They act. Chapter 3, the night of corruption. The door shuts behind Lot, and for a brief second, there's silence. But it's not peace. It's the kind of silence that happens right before something breaks. Outside the house, the crowd tightens. More voices, more footsteps, more pressure against the walls. It doesn't feel like a mob anymore. It feels like a single organism, breathing together, thinking together, wanting the same thing. And what they want is inside that house. Lot stands at the doorway, alone, facing them. And what he says next reveals something unsettling about how far he's been pulled into the city. He pleads with them, reasoning, begging, even offering something unthinkable. He says in desperation, "Take my daughters instead." Stop there for a moment, because this is where the story becomes uncomfortable. Lot is trying to stop one evil with another compromise. That's what Sodom does. It doesn't just corrupt people, it distorts judgment. And before we judge Lot too quickly, ask yourself, how long does it take for a person to start thinking like the environment they live in? Outside, the crowd doesn't even consider his words. They don't pause, they don't negotiate, they don't reason, they push harder. Their voices sharpen, their intent becomes clearer, and now the house isn't just surrounded, it's about to be broken into. And then, everything stops. Inside the house, the two visitors move. The door swings open, and the men step forward. And now, the tone shifts completely, because what stands there in front of the mob is no longer two strangers. Something in their presence changes the air. The confidence of the crowd doesn't vanish gradually. It collapses, like a flame being cut off from oxygen. And then it happens. A single act. No warning. No struggle. The men pull Lot back inside and shut the door. And then they reach out. And the Bible says it plainly. They struck the men at the door with blindness. Not partial blindness. Not confusion. Total disorientation. One moment they're charging forward. The next, they can't even find the wall in front of them. Imagine the chaos. Hands reaching for a door that isn't visible anymore. Voices turning into panic. People stumbling over each other in the dark they didn't expect. The powerful, suddenly powerless. And in that moment, something is revealed. This was never a fair fight. This was never about human strength, and it was never going to end with negotiation. Inside the house, the atmosphere shifts again. The urgency is gone now, but only because the decision has already been made. The angels turn to Lot, and what they say next carries the weight of something final. Do you have anyone else here? Sons-in-law, sons, daughters, anyone in the city, bring them out. Lot rushes out. He goes to his sons-in-law. He speaks quickly, urgently, warning them. But something has already happened in their hearts. They don't take him seriously. They laugh. They think he's joking. Think about that. A man warning of destruction in a city that has become so normal in its corruption that even judgment sounds like a joke. And this is one of the most tragic details in the entire story. They couldn't recognize truth even when it stood right in front of them. Because when a society drifts far enough, warnings stop sounding like warnings. They sound like noise. Lot returns, breathing heavier now, the weight of failure already pressing on him. He tells the angels. They didn't listen. And that's when everything becomes clear. There is no more negotiation, no more delay, no more waiting. The decision is complete, and now the rescue begins. Not gently, not gradually, but forcefully. Because what comes next is not escape. It is removal from judgment. Chapter 4. Inside Lot's house, everything changes pace. The calm is gone. The delay is gone. There is only urgency now, sharp, immediate, unavoidable. The angels turn to Lot again, but this time, there is no discussion, only instruction. Take your wife and your daughters who are here, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city. Notice the tone, not suggestion, not advice. A final boundary has been drawn, because what's coming is no longer a warning. It is execution. Lot hesitates, and that hesitation matters, because even when the truth is clear, the human heart doesn't always move at the speed of truth. The Bible says something striking. The men grasped his hand and the hands of his wife and his two daughters and led them out of the city. Think about that. They don't just guide them. They don't just instruct them. They take them, physically, firmly, almost violently in urgency, because time is gone now. There is no space left for hesitation. They are being pulled out of a world that is already condemned, toward the edge of the city. And as they walk, something unspoken hangs in the air. Behind them, a city still doesn't know it has already been sentenced. People are still inside, still talking, still laughing, still living as if tomorrow is guaranteed. But there is no tomorrow for Sodom, only this moment. And what happens next? They reach the edge of the city, and then, suddenly, the angels stop. They turn to Lot. And what they say next carries an intensity that cuts through everything. Flee for your lives. Don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. This is not just movement. This is survival instruction. Every word matters. Don't look back. Don't stop. Don't hesitate. Because what is coming is not something you can survive while watching. It will consume everything. Lot responds quickly now, but even now, there is still resistance in the moment. He asks to flee to a nearby small town instead of the mountains, almost like he is still trying to find a version of escape that feels easier. And even here, mercy appears briefly. Permission is given. A small city will be spared for his sake. This detail is important, because even in judgment, there is restraint. And then, the instruction becomes final. Hurry, escape there, because I cannot do anything until you reach it. And now the separation begins. Lot and his family move forward. The angels remain behind for a moment longer, almost like guards holding back a flood. And then, the silence breaks. The story is about to shift from warning to consequence, because behind them, Sodom is still standing, but not for long, and ahead of them, safety is still distant, but not guaranteed. And in between those two realities is a moment that will decide everything. One instruction remains untested. Don't look back. And that one instruction is about to be broken. Chapter 5, the moment everything ends. The road ahead is dark, but the road behind them is still alive. And that's the danger, because even when judgment is already in motion, the human heart still remembers what it is leaving behind. Lot is moving quickly now. His daughters are close. His wife is behind him. And somewhere far back in the distance, Sodom is still standing, still breathing, still functioning, still unaware that its time has already expired. And then it happens. The first crack of daylight is not fire. It is silence before impact. A pause in reality, as if creation itself is holding its breath. Lot is still running. The angels are no longer visible behind them. Only the command remains in his mind. Don't look back, but behind him, something pulls. And then, against everything he was told, someone turns. His wife. She looks back, just once. That's all it takes. One glance, one moment of longing. The Bible says she becomes a pillar of salt. No slow transformation, no explanation given in detail. Just immediate consequence. Frozen, stuck between what was and what is no longer allowed to exist. And that image alone should sit heavy. A person looking back at what they could not let go of, becoming part of the judgment they tried to escape. Lot keeps moving. He doesn't stop. He can't, because now there is no turning back for anyone. And then the sky responds. What falls is not a natural disaster, not weather, not coincidence. The text describes it as fire and sulfur raining from heaven. But the real weight is not in the description, it is in the timing, because it begins exactly when escape is still incomplete. Sodom is struck, not partially, not gradually, completely. The city that once felt untouchable now collapses under something it cannot fight, negotiate with, or escape. Fire moves through streets. Structures that once held life are consumed. Everything that felt permanent proves it was never permanent at all. And in that moment, the truth becomes unavoidable. Sodom didn't fall because it was weak. It fell because it crossed a line that could not be crossed without consequence. Lot and his daughters reach safety, but they do not celebrate, because behind them, there is nothing left to return to. No home, no city, no past, just smoke rising where everything once was. And the silence that follows is heavier than the destruction itself. Because destruction is loud, but realization is quiet. And in that quiet, one question remains. How far can a place go before it becomes impossible to turn back? And even deeper than that, How close can someone be to truth and still miss it? Sodom is gone, not slowly remembered, not partially spared, gone. And what remains is not just rubble, but a warning that still speaks, because the same pattern that destroyed that city is always the same, ignoring the signs, normalizing what should never be normal, rejecting the moment when change is still possible. And by the time everything becomes obvious, it is already too late. Chapter 6. After the fire, the weight of what remains. The fire doesn't just destroy Sodom, it erases it. Not only the buildings, not only the streets, but the entire sense that it ever stood the way it did. Where a city once lived, there is now only silence. Thick, unnatural, final. And for Lot, that silence is heavier than the flames ever were. Because destruction is loud for a moment, but what comes after it is what lingers. He stands at a distance, his daughters beside him, and behind them, nothing. No smoke rising like a warning anymore. No movement, no voices, no life. Just emptiness where familiarity used to be. And here's what makes this moment hard to sit with. Lot didn't just lose a place. He lost a world he once called normal. A world he lived in long enough to forget it was already dying. And now it's gone, completely. But the real weight of this story isn't just what was destroyed, it's what was revealed. Because Sodom didn't become Sodom overnight. It didn't wake up one morning and fall. It drifted, step by step, choice by choice, moment by moment, until wrong stopped feeling like wrong. And that's the most dangerous kind of collapse. Not the sudden one, but the slow one that no one interrupts. And now, standing in the aftermath, one truth becomes unavoidable. Judgment didn't surprise Sodom. It simply arrived when nothing was left to stop it. But there is something even more uncomfortable hidden in this story. Lot was close enough to truth to survive it, but close enough to corruption to be shaped by it. He escaped destruction, but not without loss. And that raises a question that doesn't let go easily. What do you carry with you when you leave something behind too late? Because not everything ends in fire. Some things end in regret. And sometimes survival is not the same as restoration. It is just continuation, a chance to move forward while still remembering what was lost behind you. And then the story leaves us with silence. No further explanation, no return to Sodom, no rebuilding, just absence. Because some warnings are not meant to be revisited. They are meant to be remembered, not as history, but as reflection. And if there is one thing this night leaves behind for anyone listening, it is this. There are moments in life that feel ordinary while they are happening, but irreversible once they pass. Moments where delay feels harmless, but becomes costly. Moments where truth is close enough to hear, but easy enough to ignore. And the difference between escape and loss is not always strength. Sometimes it is simply timing. So the question the story leaves behind is not about Sodom. It is about awareness, about recognition, about whether a warning is understood while it can still change something, or only after it becomes a memory. Because Sodom didn't lack information, it lacked response. And that is what made its end inevitable.